The house is quiet, but it isn't peaceful. The last word still hangs in the air like the echo of a slammed door, and your coffee has gone cold on the kitchen counter. If you're here, you're already thinking about reconnecting after a fight, and that thought alone is a crack of light under the door. The moment feels fragile, but it's also the place where repair begins. You are not the first couple to stand in a midnight kitchen and wonder what to do next. Here at Whispered Hearts. English, we walk with people through this exact moment, with steady breath and simple steps that bring you back to each other. Tonight, we'll move from the heat of the argument to the calm of understanding, then forward to prevention, so you don't circle the same conflict again. Research shows that repair isn't one grand gesture, but a series of small, honest moves anyone can learn. But there's something even quieter holding love together, and it starts before the apology. When emotions spike, the nervous system takes the wheel and drives the conversation off the road. That's why the first move is not words, but safety. Tell each other you're stepping away to cool down, not to shut down. A sentence as simple as, "I need 20 minutes to breathe, and I promise I'll come back," can save the night. Think of this pause like pulling into a rest stop off a busy highway. You count your breaths. Maybe rinse your face with cold water and let your shoulders drop. You do not rehearse your next argument while you wait. You give your body a chance to settle so your words can land where they belong. If you've ever noticed how much clearer your thoughts feel after a walk, you know this works. Take a lap around the block, hear the hum of the streetlights, feel the crisp winter air fold around you, and remind your chest that it can open. Let your mind touch a steadier place where defensiveness loosens. Have you felt the difference in your own voice after even a short pause? But a pause alone won't carry you home. There's a truth most couples discover only when they return to the room. Accountability is a bridge, not a punishment. When you come back, you speak about your part without explaining it away. I raised my voice and talked over you. I'm sorry. You stop the sentence there, with no but, because the word but builds a wall across the very path you're trying to cross. This kind of apology is not about shame. It's about naming what happened, so trust has a place to stand. Therapists report that specific apologies repair faster because they show you see what your partner experienced. Which of your words tonight would you take out of the air if you could? There's often a moment here where you want your partner to acknowledge their part too. That urge is human, and it can wait. Accountability is most powerful when it's given freely, not traded like chips at a table. You go first because you can, not because you owe. But even apologies miss the mark if they never reach the heart they're meant for. Listening for understanding is different from listening for a gap where your next point can wedge in. You might try, "When I hear you say, I make decisions without you, I feel surprised and embarrassed. Tell me what that looked like to you tonight." Then be silent long enough to actually hear the answer. Your eyes do half the listening here. Look with the intention to learn, not to win. As your partner speaks, reflect back the gist in simple language. "So when I changed the plan without asking, it made you feel invisible." You don't have to agree with everything to acknowledge the feeling. Research shows that people calm down when they feel understood, and calm is where solutions live. Have you tried repeating your partner's words in your own voice before offering your view? But understanding needs a companion that is just as steady and just as rare. Empathy is the moment you imagine holding your partner's feeling in both hands without trying to fix it. You might recall the summer evening warmth of a backyard in July, when the air slowed and you could breathe again. Bring that pace into the room. Say, I can see how that would feel lonely, and let it settle. Memory becomes medicine here. Talk about a time you two got through something hard. The walk at the park after work, where the trees filtered gold light and you remembered you were on the same team. You are reminding each other that this is not the story of two opponents. It's the story of two people pulling the same rope from the same side. What memory would you put on the table tonight as proof that you two have done hard things well? But warmth alone won't keep you from tripping on the same corner of the rug next week. Prevention agreements are the anchors that keep repair from drifting. You choose a few small rules that make future conflicts safer, like no interruptions for the first 2 minutes while each person lands their point. You pick a code word that means, I'm flooded and need a short break, and you agree to return at a specific time so the break never becomes a shutdown. You decide where heavy conversations happen, maybe at the dining table with water poured, phones away, not in the hallway on your way out the door. You can get more specific. Agree that sarcasm is off the table because it cuts deeper than it looks. Decide that late-night debates end at a certain hour, so sleep can do its quiet healing. Promise to circle back within 24 hours if you can't finish in one sitting. Which one agreement would soften your next argument the most? But agreements mean little if the daily rhythm never makes room for connection again. Rebuilding connection after conflict often starts small. You plan a gentle re-entry ritual, like a 10-minute porch check-in as the sun slides behind the neighborhood roofs. You might take a slow walk after dinner under streetlights, your hands brushing until they find each other naturally. You look for one concrete act that meets a need. Loading the dishwasher when it isn't your night, or sending a text at lunch that says, I'm with you. Your senses help your bond remember itself. Notice the faint scent of spring rain on the sidewalk, or the creak of the old porch step as you come back inside. Let those details mark the day you turned back toward each other. What would a small, visible act of repair look like for you before bedtime? But there is a part of repair most couples skip because it feels delicate and exposed. Return to the scene and narrate the better version together. When I felt cornered, I pushed. Next time, I'll say I'm overwhelmed and ask for a pause. When I heard you say no, I took it as rejection. Next time, I'll ask what you're worried about. You are co-authoring a new script, so the next conflict has different lines, different breath, and a kinder ending. This isn't performative. It's the practice every great team uses after a hard game, watching the tape and calling out what to change. Therapists report that couples who rehearse future behavior even briefly are more likely to keep their word under pressure. What one sentence would you add to your shared script right now? But there's another layer to safety that quietly holds the whole process together. Before initiating touch, ask for consent even when you are married or long committed. Do you want a hug, or should we sit for a minute first? That question turns touch from assumption into shelter. When the answer is yes, hold in a way that lets your breath find a calm rhythm together. And when the answer is no, respect it with the same tenderness. Language can do this too. Use words that talk about your feelings rather than your partner's character. Swap you always for I feel and aim for specific scenes instead of sweeping labels. Research shows that couples who stay descriptive rather than global Preserve dignity on both sides. When you picture your next hard conversation, which phrase would you rewrite first? But even with care and consent, old triggers sometimes flare without warning. When they do, name them gently. I'm noticing my chest tighten, and this isn't about you. It's about an old fear from before we met. Your partner does not have to solve that history on the spot. Your honest naming keeps them from carrying a weight that isn't theirs, and it keeps the current conflict in its right size. Self-soothing is a gift you can give the relationship in these moments. Try a grounding routine you both agree on. One person grabs water while the other opens a window. You count breath together or place one hand on the table and feel the cool wood under your palm. Have you developed a go-to move that calms your body fast enough to save the conversation? But repair doesn't only happen in talk. It shows up in how you return to everyday life. Make a small plan for the next 24 hours. Eat something together, even if it's simple, like eggs and toast at the kitchen counter while morning light pools on the tile. Decide on one shared task to complete, like folding laundry or taking the car for a wash. These tasks are not romantic, but they are hands-on proof that you two are a team, and teams build trust by moving in rhythm. As you do the ordinary, let your tone soften. You can keep it light without pretending nothing happened. A brief squeeze of the shoulder when you swap the laundry, a check-in text during your commute, a minute on the couch with your knees touching while a sitcom hums in the background. In your life together, where does ordinary teamwork already show up that you could lean into today? But we won't leave you alone with this work. There's a circle here that holds you while you learn. Midway through moments like this, it's easy to worry you're the only ones who haven't figured love out. You aren't. The community around whispered hearts. English is full of people who have argued in kitchens and quieted their voices and tried again and again and again. If your chest feels tight right now, let this be your reminder that your relationship is not a problem to solve alone. It is a home you're building with help and hope. If you feel a wave of relief reading that, trust it. Belonging is not the opposite of conflict. It is the safety net that lets you risk honesty. When you feel that net under you, you're more likely to keep listening, to keep naming your part, to keep choosing a kinder script. Where do you feel that sense of belonging most in your life? And how could you bring more of it to this conversation? But there is one more door we should open before the night ends. Forgiveness is not forgetting or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It is choosing to hold your partner's humanity in view, even while you protect your boundaries. You might say, I'm still tender, and I'm choosing us. Give me 2 days to rebuild ease around this topic. That blend of grace and clarity is the soil where trust grows back stronger. Trust doesn't return all at once. It returns in little proofs repeated over time. The promised call that actually comes, the meeting of the eyes when the car pulls into the driveway, the agreement you keep even when you're tired. Which small promise could you make tonight that you know you can keep? But even promises breathe easier when they have space around them. Make room for quiet. Sit on the porch and watch the neighborhood settle, the last dog walkers passing by, the mailbox lids closing for the night. Let silence do work that words can't touch. Sometimes the heart decides to unclench only after it has been allowed to rest, and rest is permission you can give each other. When morning comes, make the first minute gentle. Put the kettle on, Notice the light leaning across the kitchen floorboards. Listen to the soft chime of your phone and choose not to reach for it yet. Say your good mornings as if you both know what last night cost and what today might give back. What would a gentler morning ritual look like for you this week? But there's one more strand to weave into your prevention agreements that most couples overlook. Create a shared language for repair attempts. Maybe it's a hand over the heart that means, "I'm trying to reach you," or an index card on the fridge with 3 grounding phrases. "We're on the same side. I want to understand. We can take a break." These small signals rescue conversations that would otherwise run hot and away. You might also add a monthly check-in on your agreements. Pick a Saturday morning, pour coffee, and ask, which rule helped us most and which felt clunky? Adjust without judgment. Couples who keep their agreements flexible treat them as living tools, not rigid law. What day of the month could you set aside for that 10-minute tune-up? But even with tools and rituals, hearts sometimes need a wider horizon than the living room. Get outside together when you can. Walk under a sky big enough to dwarf your argument. The trees a mix of green and that first hint of autumn leaves that will soon crackle underfoot. Let the wind clear the leftover smoke of last night's words. Nature has a way of putting both of you back at your true size. Later, when you're ready, tell a story about who you're becoming. We are 2 people who fight and come back. We are 2 people who keep choosing repair over pride. Say it out loud, then live like it is already true. Which sentence about your future as a couple do you want to say today and prove tomorrow? But before we close, there's a final thread to tie so you can carry this with you. If the conflict touched an old wound, consider naming what support looks like next time. When I get quiet, please ask if I need a break or a hug. If it touched a practical stress, choose a simple action plan. We'll schedule the budget talk for Sunday afternoon, not after work when we're both on edge. Couple life gets easier when big topics have a predictable home. And remember, repair is a craft, not a test you pass once. You get better by doing it with intention, even imperfectly. The apology that lands, the pause that prevents, the prevention agreement that turns a blow-up into a hard but steady talk. These are the moves that make marriage conflict recovery real. What is one craft move you'll practice in your next hard moment? But the most important thing is this gentle truth, and it's where we'll leave you tonight. 2 people can be on the same team, even while they disagree. You can protect your dignity, guard your boundaries, and still reach for each other's hands. You can build a home that holds storms and summer evenings alike. A home where the porch light is always there to guide you back. If our stories here make you feel less alone, remember that whispered hearts. English was made for nights like this. And when the next argument comes, as arguments do, you won't fear it in the same way. You'll know how to slow it down, how to name your part, how to listen for the quiet need under the loud words. You'll know how to sketch an apology, how to seal it with an action, how to write tomorrow's better script together. That is the real art of reconnecting after a fight.